What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I'm continuing my training camp preview series. We've already covered the Atlanta Falcons, the Washington football team. We have my guy Spotlight Raiders talk on, man. Previewing, talking about the Las Vegas Raiders going into training camp. What's going on, man?
What's going on, JT? It's been a while since we talked. I'm happy to be on here to talk about the Raiders. Thanks for having me on. Really do appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for coming on, man. I've been knowing you on YouTube for like over the last 3 years, I believe. So it's finally great to have you back on again, man. We gotta talk about the Las Vegas Raiders, man. So of course, the first thing I want to talk about is this defense because I can't remember the last time the Raiders had a good defense. I think it's been like a decade since the Raiders last had even like a average defense. And the last time. Correct. Yeah, so like the last time the Raiders had a good defense, I was in fourth grade. Crazy.
Wow.
So I mean, like, let's start off because obviously we just can't overall talk about defense. We got to break it up. So let's talk about safety first. Now, Gillespie, rookie safety out of Missouri. A lot of people were pretty high on him, and he's been making a lot of waves, I've read, and a lot of reports during minicamp, OTAs, and whatnot. So how are you feeling about the overall safety group going in? What are some position battles there, and what are some guys who you feel are going to end up making their presence felt during training camp preseason there at safety?
Well, safety is going to be a very interesting position to look at in training camp. Now, knowing that Jonathan Abram is coming off of an iffy year, he has some good times, he has some bad times. We brought back Carl Joseph, which he was formerly drafted by us, played a couple years, went to Cleveland for 1 year. Now he's back with us. So we bring a little bit of a veteran to help out these younger guys. And then we go get Tyrese Gillespie and we trade up to get Trayvon Merrick out of TCU. So it's going to be a lot of safety talk with this actual training camp. Now, me personally, I think Tyrese Gillespie is going to make one more. He's going to make the team. That's how it is. He's going to make the team. The question is, when do you play him and where do you play him? Because from what I've heard, he has a little bit of experience at slot corner, but I think we have too many corners for that position in itself. I can see him definitely making an impact on the special teams as of right now because Merrick was a second-round pick, so we traded up to get him, so he's going to get – but if you can have all four of them on the field at the same time with Gus Bradley's scheme, I think it'll be interesting to look at.
Me personally – I think that Tyree Gillespie is better than Trayvon Moorick, and that may sound crazy, but hear me out. Tyree Gillespie held his own against Kyle Pitts, and we know Kyle Pitts is, he was a demon when he was playing for Florida, and he pretty much, gave Kyle Pitts a lot of fits. So you look at Tyree Gillespie, even if he doesn't start, I definitely feel like they could use him in the role where he's covering, against the elite tight ends because you're in the division that you have Noah Fant, Travis Kelce there. So, I mean, I definitely think that the Raiders kind of could use him in some kind of a role there. Maybe like like another linebacker
package or a dime package.
Yeah. Like he's just too good against tight ends not to have him on the field in those situations. And speaking of that, there's a guy you guys drafted out of Virginia Tech. He was like a safety. He's moved to linebacker. I can't think of his name right now.
Devon Diablo.
Yeah, there you go. So, like, how you feeling about him, the overall linebacker unit?
I feel like it's a great idea due to the fact that we're already pretty stacked at the safety position. The guy body specimen in himself looks just like a linebacker. If you see the way that he played at Virginia Tech, he was more of a downhill safety. He wasn't a safety that, he could cover, don't get me wrong, but his strong suit was coming up in that eight-man box in tackling and getting downhill to the running back or short yardage, like slants or anything against receivers or anything in the middle of the field. The guy is a tackling machine. The guy can hit and he makes a great impact on that defense at Virginia Tech. So I feel like him transferring over to linebacker, that's the same thing that we did with Tanner Muse the year before, which he had a foot injury. That's why he couldn't play. But I feel like that transition now with Gus Bradley at defensive coordinator and Paul Gunn, I think he's going to have people in place for this defense to have Devon Diablo be one of those linebackers that's going to come in on third down situation, third and short. He's going to make an impact when his name is called for.
Now, Out of all the linebackers right now, who has the most to prove during training camp?
Me personally, I think Corey Littleton has been getting a lot of slander for how he played last year, but people fail to realize how bad Paul Gunther is as a defensive coordinator. Even when he was in Cincinnati, even when he was with us, and now he's with the Minnesota Vikings, Corey Littleton just didn't look comfortable in Paul Gunther's system. Corey Littleton came out and said, "Oh, I'm just doing what Paul Gunther's telling me to do." What linebacker actually says that? You got to be that leader on the team. But Corey Littleton comes from a background with a good defense coming from Los Angeles with the Rams. So now I think Gus Bradley is going to come in and have him improve, because we already know he's a great coverage linebacker. Yep. The question is, when he's up against the run, if he's going to have that confidence back after he lost that confidence last year with Paul Gunther, I think Corey Littleton is one of those guys that got to prove a lot of the nation wrong.
Yeah, man, I was like really disappointed in his performance last year, because when you guys brought him in, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great signing, because, you know, he's what the Raiders need. The Raiders pass defense isn't all that great. So you can definitely use a guy like him to somewhat cover the middle of the field. And it just didn't really materialize like that. Now we're going to talk about the strength before we get to the biggest issue. So you look at the defensive line, that's pretty much your strength. Now, Maxx Crosby was kind of held back last season due to like injuries and whatnot. He was pretty solid.
He had a shoulder injury. He had a shoulder injury, and he was getting double teamed a lot last year.
And understandably so, because I mean, your fourth overall pick from years ago, Clelin Ferrell, still can't really seem to get things rocking. And it's crazy that he also had some concerns, because I remember talking about him in the video, and Raiders fans were quick to defend him, saying that he had like some injuries holding him back and whatnot. So like, I definitely feel like Clelin Ferrell has a lot to prove. Don't you feel the same way?
Yes, I would feel the same way, but this is where a lot of the Raiders fans fail to realize too, because Raiders fans can be biased as well. Maxx Crosby, yes, he's great against the pass, but he's not great against the run. But Clelin Ferrell is great against the run and not great against the pass. Now we bring in Yannick Ngakoue. That's going to take a little bit off the load of Clelin Ferrell and Maxx Crosby. Now it's going to be some double teams coming Yannick Ngakoue's way. And we have, we brought in some other pieces like Quentin Jefferson from the Buffalo Bills. Most likely this pass rush is going to be a little bit different, but I do say that Clelin Ferrell does have to improve. He improved from his rookie year to his sophomore year, but he got to improve from his sophomore year to his third year. This is the year that he really got to have a breakout year.
Yeah, I really like how the interior of the defensive line looks for Las Vegas right now. That's definitely the strength of this defense. But we got to talk about corner, man, because whoa, man. First guy I want to talk about is Damon Arnette, man. I think him blowing that cover 2 assignment against the Miami Dolphins, man, which led to Ryan Fitzpatrick going. And I remember I was on your live stream after that game, man. Woo! So I mean, you guys have draft, like, I'm trying to figure out how many cornerbacks are you guys going to keep drafting until you finally get it right, man. Because
I really don't know.
You guys bring in so many corners and still can't get it right.
Now, I know we signed a lot of corners in the off season, knowing that we had Mullen, Arnett, Lawson, and we got rid of LaMarcus Joyner. We got rid of him, which I think we should have got rid of him, in my opinion. I think he needed to be under a different defensive coordinator than, Paul Gunther was. But Damon Arnette, I was kind of skeptical about him coming out of the draft, knowing that, he was on the opposite side of Jeff Okudah at Ohio State. So that I was like, okay, I didn't know I knew of him, but I didn't know that he was a first round pick, So when I say that we got him, I'm like, okay, they making up for the Falcons getting AJ Terrell, because that's who we wanted. We wanted AJ Terrell, and then once we AJ Terrell, they're like, okay, the best available in their eyes, which it wasn't in my eyes, was Damon Arnette. Now, Damon Arnette had a lot of concussion protocol. He had that whole big behind thing on his hand, playing with one hand, and it was a lot with Damon Arnette. And he has to show that Now I see that there's been rumors that he's been bulking up, getting bigger, muscle wise. But now I really want to see him show it on the field. They said that he had a great training camp last year, knowing that we couldn't see anything due to the pandemic. But Damon Arnett's going to have to be that number 2 and compete with Hayward for that number 2 corner spot. We all know Mullen is going to be the number 1 corner. We already know that. Damon Arnett is going to have to beat out Casey Hayward for that number 2 spot. And if he doesn't, he's going to get moved to the slot, or he becomes in between the nickel or Don Peckers type of corner. It can't slip up like Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs is the same way. Even though Henry Ruggs had injuries, this year, and Nelson Aguilar took majority of that. Now Nelson Aguilar ain't here, so it's time for you to step up with John Brown and Willie Snead. So it's time for them to step up. And Damon Arnett, the nation's looking at you, dog. They looking at you. They getting a little bit skeptical about you, especially myself. So hopefully you can, show out this year.
Yeah, man. When I look at Damon Arnett, I like him better at slot just because he's a really good tackler. He wraps up pretty well. And I just think that his overall skill set better fits slot. And then on top of that, you have what's his name? Is his name? His last name is Hobbs out of Illinois. I don't know if it's Isaiah Hobbs. Nate Hobbs. Yeah, I really like Nate Hobbs a lot. He's a physical, get in your face corner. Some people have questions about his downfield speed and whatnot. But do you think that he can have the impact on this roster? Or do you see him more of a special team?
Actually, from what I have, I have little insiders from justballbaby.com and RaidersWire.com. Shout out to both of those websites. But they say Nate Hobbs was the most surprising corner in mini camps and in OTAs. So they've been saying a lot about Nate Hobbs. How is Nate Hobbs is going to take Damon Arnett's spot, or they're going to put Nate Hobbs, because say if Casey Hayward gets that number 2 spot, Arnett's going to now have to compete with Nate Hobbs for the slot corner. So they've been talking highly of Nate Hobbs. I really like him. I thought it was a solid pick for us, knowing that one thing about the Raiders, we always never have depth at that position. So now we have that depth, bringing in Casey Hayward and the other pieces that we have that depth just in case any of those guys like Arnett or Hayward or Mullen get hurt.
Yeah, and I really like Trayvon Mullen a lot. The only DB that actually looks like he knows how to cover out there. But before we dive into the offense, you guys make sure to check out my guy, Spotlight Raiders Talk. Let the people know where they can find you at. Shameless plug.
Yeah, Spotlight Raiders Talk on Instagram, Spotlight Raiders Talk on YouTube, Spotlight RN Talk on Twitter.
And I will have his social media pages plus his YouTube channel linked down in the description in the pinned comment section down below. Now, you look at the offense, a lot of Raiders fans, when I was talking about John Gruden, I was like, okay, John Gruden hasn't really done a great job, especially when you look at how much money he's making. There's a Fire John Gruden website that shows how much money he made per minute. And I feel like he has done pretty well when it comes to the offensive side of football. Now, I've seen a lot of Raiders fans, talk about how the offense isn't all that great. But, I just think it's nitpicking at that point. I think the offense has been pretty good, to say the least, especially Derek Carr last year, which nobody wants to mention this, but Derek Carr was actually in the MVP discussion for, he should have been in there, but, nobody just wants to give credit where it's due when it comes to Derek Carr. But look at the offensive line. How you feeling about it? Because, are you iffy 1 through 5? Because you guys drafted Alex Leatherwood. And how you feel? How you feel about him? How you feel about the whole time?
If anybody have not seen my reaction, make sure you go to Spotlight Raiders Talk on YouTube and see my reaction to Alex Leatherwood, because I felt like at that time when the draft was going on, I felt like Alex Leatherwood was not the best 17th player in the draft, in my opinion. I felt as though that you had better offensive linemen, better than Alex Leatherwood, that went after him, but I could understand why John Gruden made the move. Number one, he likes to run first. Alex Leatherwood's strength is power running.
Yeah.
So if you, especially with we getting Keon Drake and now Josh Jacobs, if you want to run the ball down their throats, you could run it down with using Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood is great against the pass too, but I got to look at more film. I'm still looking at more film on him, doing my research on him. But from the draft till now, I'm not really mad at it. I just feel as though there were better offensive linemen that was pro ready before Alex Leatherwood, because he was projected like a early second round pick, and we got him in the first. So I'm not really too mad at it. When it comes to Jon Gruden, I don't really nitpick, but I nitpick for certain situations when it comes to Jon Gruden. Now, Jon Gruden did get us, from 7-9 to 8-8, and 4-12, 7-9, and then 8-8 this year. Okay, bit of improvement, cool. But the only thing I ask for Jon Gruden to do is
finish
get
the
with
season.
the Joneses of today's football. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's back in his 2002 era of where you think that I formation is going to win you football games. It's not. You have all these weapons on your offense, especially a Henry Ruggs that barely got targeted in games. So if I'm Jon Gruden, I got to make a game plan for a guy that had the best 40-yard dash in the draft. He almost beat John Ross 40-yard with a 4.2. So why are you not utilizing him like a 4.2? Like you say, he's like the Raiders version of Tyreek Hill. Why are you not utilizing him like Tyreek Hill? So it's some things of that nature. Don't get me wrong. We do have a top 10 offense. We did have a top 10 offense last year with Waller and, without Ruggs being who he was. But it's been situations where we lost games because you put it in the hands of a defense and of a coordinator that you personally hired. So when it comes to Jon Gruden, like, it's make or break year for him. It's double-digit wins, JT. I'm serious, bro. It got to be double-digit wins this year. It has to be.
Yeah, man. Like the Raiders, like over the last 2 years, you start the season out hot, but like I tell everybody, it doesn't matter how you start. It's about what you do in the month of November. The real football season starts the week of Thanksgiving and after. That's where we start to see who are the contenders and who are the pretenders. And too often times the Raiders come up short. And while we touched on the off-the line wide receiver, now you have a lot of young players at that wide receiver position. Now, of course, you bring in a veteran and Willie Snead. You got John Brown, who is really good. He's a really good number 2 option. Then you look at the younger guys. That's kind of what I want to focus on. You got Henry Ruggs and a guy who I really like a lot, Brian Edwards. Now, is Keelan Doss the star of Hard Knocks from a couple of years ago? Is he still on the team too?
For what I remember, he was on the practice squad. From what I remember from Keelan Doss, I know Aitman is still there. I know we still have Hunter Renfrow as a slot receiver. Renfrow. But this is going to be third. It's going to be third. Renfro is going to stay on the football team. We already know that going into training camp, he's going to make the team. The question is going to be out of Zay Jones, it's going to be out of Willie Snead, and it's going to be out of a few other receivers that's going to be competing in training camp. We know Brian Edwards is going to make the team. We know Henry Ruggs is going to make the team. John Brown is going to make the team. Willie Snead, Zay Jones, Keelan Doss, Aitman. Y'all going to have to come out and ball out to get that number 4 or 5th spot on a team. Now, if I'm Jon Gruden, right, if I'm the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, I will keep Willie Snead because people fail to forget when he was in New Orleans, he knew how to return punts. Put him on the special teams. You could put him in third down situations when Renfro comes out the game. You could use Willie Snead for a lot of things with this offense to make it prolific. This wide receiver core is going to be tough. I feel like Brian Edwards is going to be the one because of his size and the 50-50 balls that he can catch. That's why I think he's going to be number 1. Ruggs is going to be 2, that Tyreek Hill type of player, but he's going to be at the number 2 spot. Number 3, I'm still putting Hunter Renfrow at number 3. I feel like he's our third down specialist. He got to be on the field in those scenarios. John Brown, this is where the confusing comes into play. Because John Brown reminds me of Nelson Aguilar, but shorter. He got to prove himself again. Like Nelly had to come in and prove himself because we barely paid him $100 million. I mean, not $100 million. We barely paid him like 90,000, 900K last year for Nelly. Now he got a good contract in New England, thanks to us at that, like we say. But John Brown, like, I think it's going to be a 2A and 2B. Russ going to be 1A, and then it's going to be John Brown, 1B. It's going to be one of them. It's going to be them situations depending on the scenario. So this wide receiver core looks good. I just want to see John Brown and Willie Snead help out these younger guys like Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards, because you don't want to. You want to make sure you mold them until they, get better. And I hope that Nelly did that too. But Brian Edwards barely couldn't play last year, and so has Henry Ruggs. So I feel like this wide receiver core is good for what we have, and I think it's kind of the most weapons that Carr has since the 2016 season.
Yeah, man, there's definitely a lot of upside now wide receiver room. Now, tight end, we know it's Darren Waller, and then everybody else is just everybody else in the background. So, I mean, what are you expecting now, your man Darren Waller, real quick, heading into this year? Do you think he's going to remain productive, or do you think that he could have a slight drop-off in production with the emergence of maybe a Brian Edwards or Henry Ruggs?
People fail to forget that he had 185 targets from Derek Carr last year. People forget that. Waller is going to be Waller. And I got to put PFF on the spot here.
We all do.
I don't understand how PFF don't have Darren Waller as the top 50 player in this league. You got Kittle and Kelsey up there, but not have Waller. Come on, man.
You know they didn't have Lamar Jackson on there. I said, bro,
they didn't even have Lamar. That's what I'm saying. They even have Lamar Jackson on there, but Waller was damn near the best tight end last year outside of Travis Kelsey. Kittle was hurt, so Kittle really couldn't do what he wanted to do. But Waller, even when Kittle was healthy, had better stats than Waller had better stats than Kittle when they both is healthy. So how you have Kittle on there? Don't get me wrong, I think Kittle is a top tight end in this league. He's top 5, top 3 probably. Waller, Kelsey, Kittle. Not in that order though, but just in my top 3.
Yeah, man.
People not, where's the respect at? This guy
it's Pro Football Focus.
Right. They just terrible with it, man. But I feel like our tight ends is going to be a little bit better this year. Jason Witten did retire, but I think he mentored a lot of those tight ends that we did have, like Foster Moreau and Derek Carrier. Those 2 guys is going to come on, and you never know. They might get their red zones as well. If Waller's going to be out there, might go 2 tight end or something of that nature. Nobody's worried about Derek Carrier or Foster Moreau, so it might just be open. I love those guys. Don't get me wrong. I love those guys because they make some big plays. But I'm just saying, like, if Edwards doing this thing, John Brown doing this thing, you got to put one of those guys in there to make sure they're not really they can be looked over.
Now, when you look at running back, we already knew how good Josh Jacobs was, but I'm going to be real with you. I felt like the Kenyon Drake signing was one of the worst signings of the whole entire free agency. And here's my reason for this. Because you already had Booker, Devontae Booker, right? He was pretty solid. A lot of Raiders fans loved him. Though. He what?
He didn't want to he walked.
I mean, but you could have brought him back. So you rather pay. So you're going to give all this money to a guy in Kenyon Drake when you could have brought Booker back for less and improve the defense, put more money into improving the defense. That's what my biggest gripe was.
The thing about it is, though, that I don't think Devin Booker is more of a pass catching running back than Kenyon Drake is. I think Kenyon Drake is going to be one of those guys that's going to be more in the passing game. And on those situations where Josh Jacobs need a breather, then Kenyon Drake is going to come in. And that's been our problem at the number 2 running back spot, because Jalen Richard is that type. But when it comes to running in between the tackles, we do not have a running back outside of Devin Booker. Devontae Booker. I keep saying the damn Phoenix Suns. I'm thinking
you want to win the finals too, don't you?
Yeah. So Devontae Booker was solid for us. I can't lie about that. But if we did offer him a contract and he turned it down to go to New York, that's his prerogative. So that's why we still had to go out and get someone like a Kenyon Drake that's better in the passing game than Booker was. That's why I think the signing was great. And people fail to realize they both played with each other at Alabama. Yeah. So they know how to feed off each other. So that's why mind you, you got Drake, you got Josh, and you got Leatherwood. That's 3 Alabama players on the offensive side of the ball, plus Henry Ruggs. So they all had that continuity and that family. So now Keon Drake and Josh Jacobs can do their 1-2, and Rashard's going to be that third down back. Now, I know that we still had, from what I remember, Theo Riddick was that fourth running back that we had on our practice squad. If one of them get hurt, he's going to get moved up. And then we got, I think his name is Trey Ragas or something like that. He's a undrafted free agent. He's doing pretty good in OTAs and mini camp. So I like the Keon Drake signing. The money, it can be a bit high for him for number 2, but at the same time, Keon Drake could have went anywhere and been a starter. So that's kind of telling me like, okay, he could have got more money as a number 1 somewhere else. And he took the amount that we gave him to be a number 2. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, with Kenyon Drake, I definitely feel like the Raiders are a good fit for him because he's one of them running backs who has to go to an offensive-minded coach, because if he just goes to any other team, they may not know how to utilize him properly. Like I was telling people when he played for the Dolphins, he needed to go to a team that knew how to use him. He went to Arizona, a team that's more spread-oriented, pistol, gets in the ball where, So for me, I definitely want to see Josh Jacobs have a bigger impact in the passing game. That's been my biggest gripe against him. I feel like that's the only thing keeping him from that top 5 discussion, really. Then the last position we got to talk about, then we're going to let you go, the quarterback position. Now, around this time last year, there was some people out there who thought Marcus Mariota was going to be starting over Derek Carr. But, I mean, Marcus Mariota did his thing now. And I think that if he has a good preseason, he probably could end up getting traded to a team that kind of has questions about their quarterback position, like the New York Giants, for example, okay? Daniel Jones is the guy. Nobody's denying that, but he's on a thin leash.
Right.
So if Mariota balls out, and he took a pay cut, team player.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I feel like we're not going to trade him. If we would have if we're not going to utilize them at all, we probably would have released them, but it would have been dead cap us if we did release him before he took the pay cut. So I do commend Marcus Mariota for taking the pay cut, but everybody say he had that one good game. Yes, he did have that one good game against the Chargers, a defense that didn't know about Mariota, didn't really do much on him when he was with the Raiders. And number 2, he threw an interception when it was needed for us to win the game. So, I mean, I like Mariota, but the Mariota hype train definitely went higher when Mariota played well and we still lost. So the Raider Nation is weird like that. And people been talking about Derek Carr all season, like every off season. Whenever quarterbacks talking about they want to trade Derek Carr this, trade Derek Carr that.
Yeah, I don't understand it, bro. Like Derek Carr is like a top 12 QB. He's right. So I don't think you probably have seen him, but Tom Brady was on The Shop, the HBO thing, and like he said he was like, "You're really going to stick with that mother effer?" And so a lot of people out there think he was talking about Derek Carr for real. So I mean, like, I don't understand the Derek Carr scrutiny. I understand sometimes he may make some, bad decisions here and there, but overall, like, he is a really good quarterback. And there are a handful of teams, half the league would jump at the bit to get Derek Carr. So lastly, I want to get your 5 players to watch going into training camp.
5 players to watch going to training camp is going to be Damon Arnett on the defensive side, Clelin Ferrell on the defensive side, Corey Littleton on the defensive side, Jonathan Abram on the defensive side, and for me on the offensive side, it's going to be a tie at 5 between Brian Edwards and Henry Ruggs. So they will be my 2 at 5, but Damon Arnett, Jonathan Abram, Corey Littleton, Clelin Ferrell, and I'm going to say Henry Ruggs, but Brian Edwards needs that help too. So yeah, they're my 5 players to watch. Majority is on the defense though.
And as it should be, because the Raiders haven't had a good defense in the decade. I really thought that was a joke, man, but I was looking up, I was like, bro, and you had Jack Del Rio as your head coach. He was both, and the defense was still bad. Like, wow, man. But everybody
we still went 12-4 with that defense. I don't know how we did it, but we did
it. Man, everybody, this is my guy Spotlight Raiders Talk, man. Once again, before we let you go, let the people know where they can find you.
Make sure y'all can find me on Instagram at Spotlight Raiders Talk. All together on Twitter is at Spotlight RN Talk. And on YouTube, you can find me at Spotlight Raiders Talk. Even on Facebook, I have a fan page as well, the Spotlight Raiders Talk.
All right, everybody. This is my guy, Spotlight Raiders Talk. Once again, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate you for coming on the channel. And good luck to the Las Vegas Raiders this season, man.
I'm hoping for it, man. I'm trying to get out to some games, but I'll be there for the Pittsburgh game in Heinz Field. So we gotta link up there, man. I'll be in Pittsburgh for that.
If I can find a way to catch a flight up there.